Eagles are the better team. I can't say it any other way.
I don't really think everybody knows what they're about to witness.
I know talent when I see one. I should be an NFL scout.
Jonathan, I don't like that pick. I love that pick.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate Podcast, and welcome to our Week 9 reaction episode. Man, oh man, the games today were amazing, and I think it's fitting that we have Caleb and Jonathan here. Jonathan, you're finally back. Missed 2 episodes, but you're back now, and it's perfect timing because we have to talk about that Cowboys-Eagles game. It was the last game that we saw. It's currently Sunday, 8 p.m., just before the Sunday night game, so it is super fresh for everybody. And let me just go through it. So Cowboys 23, Eagles 28. Eagles squeak out the win. Emphasis on squeak. Squeaked by because, man,
yeah,
there was a lot of bone, a lot of meat left on that bone, I should say, for the Cowboys. I mean, they were in the red zone like 3 or 4 times, and they could not convert. It was Luke Schoonmaker was just a yard short on a touchdown. Dak Prescott steps out of bounds just a yard short of the 2-point conversion to get in the end zone. They what else happened? Freaking fumble by Swift on that last drive that could have been the turnover.
The Cowboys couldn't recover it.
I mean,
Parsons had it.
So
like both
many
teams,
chances.
This is what these rivalries do. Both teams make mistakes that it's a game of inches, you know? So it's like this rivalry, man, it's all there's so many little things that you could sum up in a couple sentences. That's just crazy. The almost blocked punt on the Eagles, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I'll go through the stats and then I'll let Jonathan kind of say his piece. Yes. Dak played amazing today. 374 yards, 3 TDs. Hurts 207 with 2 touchdowns, and then CD was it 11 receptions for 191 yards. How many receptions did he have last week? 14?
Yeah, something like that.
So CD's just having a career season right now. Jonathan, let's just get it out. How do you feel? Raw reactions, fresh reactions right after the game ends. How are you feeling? Are you feeling a little optimistic because you left so much on the table that game was winnable for the Cowboys?
Yeah, this game was definitely winnable for the Cowboys. Like you said, so much meat left on the bone right there. Okay, I can't wait to, fully enjoy and savor that meat bone the next time we play them.
Go back for seconds.
Go back for seconds. Yeah. Like you said, there was opportunities for us to score, and honestly, I thought the Eagles were gonna blow the Cowboys out. The way everybody was, pumping up the Eagles and all that. Yes, they have a good record, but a lot of their games have been close. Okay, they've been able to squeak it out, and that's good during the regular season. I'd rather them win like that during the regular season than during the playoffs where they get lucky, right? So throughout this game, you saw that the Cowboys matched perfectly with the Eagles. And honestly, the Cowboys, I think they look like the better team to me. The main reason, there were a lot of penalties from the Eagles, and it wasn't biased at all. Every single play they called was well-deserved from the Eagles. And they missed a couple. The refs even felt bad for the Eagles sometimes. Remember that? It was in the face, like that face penalty. They picked up the flag and didn't.
It was a tap, and it looked like on the collar. Of all the ones to pick, I can't give you that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, there's that one. This guy was holding Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons yelling at the ref. A lot of things like that. They try to let slide. They were trying to help the Eagles.
Cowboys had so many penalties too. I've said this for years under McCarthy that the Cowboys are not a very disciplined team with penalties, and they got penalized a ton all the way to the end.
Especially on that last drive where they got all the way up close because of the Eagles' penalties. And then what do they get? Like false start, and then they back them up again. It's like
anything Eagles are usually better.
That's explainable at the end. That's explainable.
That's what the rivalry does.
No, at the end that's explainable because you're trying to hurry up and rush and snap the ball. But the Eagles throughout the game looked sloppy. They played sloppy, and the coaching and all that. They could have honestly. The Eagles should have put this game away earlier. They weren't running the ball. They kept trying to throw the ball and complete passes. So this Eagles team is a bit overrated from what I saw today. The Cowboys.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. I thought again, the way they were pumping these guys up, I thought Jalen Hurts was gonna go off. I thought the defense was gonna do good. Dak seemed relaxed. He seemed poised. Jake Ferguson. This was a coming out party for Jake Ferguson. I didn't know that tight end was that good. This boy can play. When I say he can play, he can always make himself open and be available to Dak. And he's another like reliable option besides CeeDee Lamb. And so it's great that he played well, but yeah, it seemed kind of too easy for the Cowboys to score on offense. Don't Eagles have all these top defensive stars, and they're holding and
that's what happened. Like Hurts got hurt. Remember, he limped off the field.
Oh.
Goddard got hurt, so he was out of the game. Did you see Darius Slay get hurt and James Bradbury? At one point, they were both off the field.
So now we're gonna use excuses about people getting injured.
No, I'm just saying. You're like, what happened to the Eagles defense? I'm just trying to like tell you what happened. Didn't you see it,
dude? About 95%. About 95% of starters in the NFL today are banged up in some capacity. Everybody plays through it. So I don't want to hear excuses. Oh, Jalen Hurts was limping off. Oh, Saquon Barkley, he was pretty injured, but he came back and played okay against the Giants, or for the Giants today against the Raiders. And so you can't make excuses like that. If you come back in the game, you're saying you can play. You're saying there's no excuses, and that's what happened. And Bradbury, he tried to come back in. They probably should have tested him because he looked a little bit wobbly. But honestly, I'd rather the Eagles win like this early, because if we face them again, number 2, it's probably going to be a lot closer in terms of stakes. We're probably going to be head-to-head going for the NFC East division crown. But number 2, we could face each other in the playoffs very well. And I want to see them in the playoffs because I know we can beat them. We have the tools in us to beat them. And we'll clean all this up by the postseason in terms of making sure we're scoring in the red zone. Just silly things like that. The Eagles.
The biggest problem I see, though, is that you can't get a run game going. Pollard has had so many straight games of like not breaking off runs. And Dak did look poised, like you said. I mean, he pretty much easily did whatever he wanted, but Dak usually needs a little bit of help from his run game, and he's not getting it.
Well, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't need it today. Today he didn't need it. I mean, what they're doing is
but is that going to hold true the next time?
They think the offense runs through Pollard just like they thought the offense ran through Zeke. Okay, and it did. But now I would say Dak has more weapons, right? We have Cooks. We have all these more reliable receivers that can catch.
That's the thing. Cooks only had one catch.
Yeah.
Well, what about? I'm talking about.
I was surprised they didn't
Jake
target
Ferguson.
Cooks more.
I'm talking about Jake Ferguson. CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb looks to be like this game is against the Eagles, the rivalry. Yeah, but he past couple games he's starting to look like the superstar of the Cowboys receiving core. Now it's a trend. It's a hot hand, but he's kind of being that dependable guy for Dak that you envisioned he would have been, the way Gallup, the way Cooper, all these other guys have been, and he hadn't quite been there, but Dak balled out. I tell you, but I think John has a point. Without the run game, he statistically does not do as well. Pollard, they were talking about when he's the complimentary guy, like getting they were talking about him being the main guy, just the reps, wears down on you. So yeah. But I was looking at it. Interestingly enough, both the Eagles and the Cowboys both had 10 penalties. I think the Eagles had 15 more yards of penalties, 98 versus the Cowboys 83, but still like almost a whole football field of penalties on both sides.
And also you remember you're including that few at the end of the game where everybody's rushing and trying to smack the ball and all that. So that it was about the same. But still, throughout the game I can tell the Eagles look sloppy. They look sloppy not just in terms of penalties, but they look sloppy. They look sloppy in terms of strategic game planning on offense. Like, why would you try to throw the ball when you're trying to milk the clock?
On that third down, they should have. That worked before, I think, in another game, but they should have chewed off more clock.
It's gonna come back to haunt them. They don't know strategy.
Well, yeah, you guys had the ball back, and with the 3 panel, and it was 3 yards. So I was a little surprised. They went for the biscuit. They risked it for the biscuit with AJ Brown on that run. I think they've done that on third down in the 4th.
Yeah.
So, at least they ran it, because there was a couple, I think last game or 2 weeks ago, I don't know, where we were barely winning and they tried to pass like 3 times and just didn't take anything off the clock. At least they ran it twice. So
believe me, something's gonna come back and haunt the Eagles in terms of like towards the end of the game, whether it be a penalty or a fumble or something. Remember what happened in terms of the ball, like the fumble, right? The Cowboys could have got that in easily, had more time. Guys, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them. The Eagles have showed us who they are. They're going to fumble or make a mistake like this towards the end of the season. It's going to cost the team. And believe me, I'm predicting it now. That's how football works. That's how team sports work. If somebody shows you who they are, they play bad, they drop a crucial
that's the
pass,
problem for the Cowboys.
They screw up at the end of the game, they're going to screw up. That's why I'm not a big fan of Josh Allen. He does it all the time, and he's going to do it again probably today.
I think the Eagles were uncharacteristically sloppy. Like we committed some blunders. There were some fourth quarter things.
Is it uncharacteristic this year, though? This season?
were there any turnovers in the game? There were almost turnovers, so like that's different.
He
That's an
didn't.
improvement.
Hurts didn't throw an interception finally.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
those are the penalties and the almost fumbles and some of the play calling, like that third down. I mean, overall was mainly okay. The Eagles getting on the one hand they used the 4 linemen, which were really good. I think one of the best, maybe top 3 in the NFL of using 4 linemen to get pressure on the quarterback. And John, you said it. Dak was still able to get his way. Basically, he was balling out. But I think they were doing a pretty good job at using the 4 to still get some pressure and at minimum contain him, which towards the end, going to what Jonathan, you were saying, is I think, if anything, is uncharacteristic of the Eagles, how sloppy we were. But then my heart was racing. It was close. These rivalries, it's a game of inches. The commentators were saying a yard and a half of difference with the football, with Dak not converting the 2 and the Ferguson just being a couple inches short. Like that's the game, and the rivalries bring that out. But if anything, I think this was more characteristic of the Cowboys. Now my heart was racing. The penalties, I was getting sick of them. It goes both ways though, and what I'm saying is Cowboys, I've said this for a while, are characteristically not very disciplined. They get a lot of penalties every game, and then time management. There wasn't a sense of urgency, and I was like, the refs are rightfully in some cases calling stuff on the Eagles. We're blundering, it's whatever. We came out with the win. That's what matters. But in that moment, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I think I know what I'm going to get. Dak's going to do well, but time management penalties are going to come back to bite him. I was texting some of my Philly friends. I was like, yeah, this is heartbreaking because they were at the 10, but then I was like, it goes both ways. The game's not over, so I was thinking we might get the ball back, or they're going to commit a penalty too. We saw the Eagles. I think Carter jumped. It's a tense moment, big rivalry, but then the Cowboys, false started, and that was more characteristic of what I've seen for years with the Cowboys offense, as well as the lack of urgency. Why not spike it on that? Just go, like the commentator was like,
I mean, they're trying to catch him off guard. They're trying to catch him off guard. That's kind of smart.
But like in a way, yeah, it would have. But then the pass wasn't really great. It was. I don't even think it was catchable. Do you guys?
Yeah. Do you guys think? Because I know it's not flashy or sexy to go for the field goal, but if they went for the field goal on both those 4th downs, they win the game. And
I did think about that. I was like,
the decision is always on the head coach, Mike McCarthy. It seems like he always makes the wrong decision. Now I know that
that's
like
a tough one.
Analytics and such say go for it, and after the fact. But the Cowboys didn't. I don't even think they let up any points to the Eagles in the 4th quarter. Like they were handling them. Like
we could not get a first down in that.
I felt like kick your field goal. There's like 9 minutes left. You go back, you could stop them, and now a field goal wins it, and that's what they did. They got into field goal range, but now they're down a touchdown instead because they tried to go for it, and Schoonmaker was short. So I think some of those decisions are on McCarthy, and we always go back to Mike McCarthy if he's the right guy for the job. But in those situations when you're playing a good team and you're playing a division opponent, I take the field goal when there's so much time left.
Yeah, Jared,
I know.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree. Mike McCarthy, he's not probably the best coach we have. He's not the best coach in general. But let me just say, like, I think in those instances with the Eagles, with teams like the Eagles and the Chiefs, you got to play to win. Like, you can't try to take
that I
be
could
conservative. You can't be conservative because if the Eagles had scored and we just made a field goal and the Eagles had scored the next drive, then we would have been probably out of the game.
But you guys were stopping them, is what I'm saying. You guys were handling them.
But there's
in the
no guarantee.
Quarter.
When I was watching, as an Eagles fan, when I was watching, that thought did cross my mind to go for the field goal because we weren't converting on those. We struggled to get first downs in the 4th quarter, but then on the other hand, I was like, it went to my mind of the penalties and the time management. I was like, in the moment, I was like, please kick the field goal because I think even if you get the ball back, time management is going to be a problem. Now, I agree with Jonathan. Fundamentally, that's what me as the fan was kind of baiting in my head. Like I was baiting them, like, please go for the field goal. But when you're playing against a good team, you got to be bold, and like John says, you play to win. So I think I can't fault McCarthy for not going for it. I would say I fault more with just like what's going on in the 4th quarter. I just flash back to when they ran out of time in the playoff game or whatever it was. Like this has been characteristic of the Cowboys. Like what's going on with the sense of urgency when you're trailing in the 4th? And like their history of not doing well on the road, coming from behind, what's going on with the mentality there?
That last drive where Carter jumps off sides, they get the 5-10 yard penalty, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then they're like on the 15, Cowboys, and no timeouts. And that play where they get the false start, it was a design quarterback run. And Dak was going to get blown up in his grill, and it was probably going to waste 10 seconds. And it's like, who's calling that play? If that played out, we'd be talking about that play as being the stupidest play, managed, and it goes back to the time management, Caleb. For some reason, they just don't have any. Oh, the Bengals game just kicked off.
Yeah,
and they have no sense of like urgency. It's like they think they have like 5 timeouts and they have all the time in the world. It's like frustrating.
They were able to use the timeouts well to like get themselves in a position, and the penalties did favor them. But then it's just like, you could hear the commentators saying, like, why aren't they rushing to the line? What's up with this? Like the sense of urgency is what it is.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
At this point, I don't know, because it's been a couple of years. I mean, right? Even with Kellen Moore, now with the different coach, like, is this culturally what's going on? Are they not used to – they brought up the stat where they're used to either being blown out or blowing out opponents, you know? And maybe it's just those close games. You need more of them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I'm not going to give advice to the Cowboys.
Yeah,
but
I think the story of the game was how bad like the Eagles, are in general. I think that's the story of the game. Yes, they were able to squeak this out, but it's concerning. I'm really concerned because all these games have been close. They look sloppy to me. They didn't like
blunders are out of character mistakes. I think we had a lot of out of character mistakes. The Eagles fundamentally are a great team.
They've had a lot of out of character mistakes all the season. So like that's who they are. This season, that's who the Eagles are.
This season,
and it's gonna hurt them. Believe me, it's gonna hurt them towards the end of the season, whether it be
when
they're trying to win the NFC East crown or in the playoffs, maybe the first, second round. They may lose because of a stupid thing that they've done.
I think it's just adversity. Because I mean, as much as we want to qualm about Hurts not, he's thrown some dimes, but then some of even the interceptions and stuff, his stats when winning, coming from behind against teams with winning ratios is phenomenal. So it's like, even with all the mistakes, they're coming up clutch and winning the games. That's the most important stat.
Just like the Vikings were.
Well, like I think to the Chiefs, how many close games they had last season, and how many, not that Mahomes throws a lot of picks, but we don't fault Mahomes for like the almost picks. How many almost picks he had? And part of that's just when you're that good of a player, you can slough them in sometimes.
Well, yep. I know we're talking about Eagles and stuff, but like this is gonna be a long game for the Bills. Just FYI. But
for that. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to
we'll wrap these next segments up.
No, yeah. Well, we'll see. Well, there's another game to happen. I think it was I think the Cowboys probably needed it more though. Like the Eagles definitely, we wanted this for sure in every rivalry, but you're starting to see the division implications.
Just want to let you know, Caleb, that you have a bye next week, and then you go into a gauntlet where you have to play the Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, and at Cowboys. So I'm just preparing you that you may not fare so lucky against the Chiefs in Kansas City or against 49ers. It's going to be a rough road, you can't.
No, those are great teams, great opponents, but I mean, I said this a few weeks ago. I'm not to be haughty, but like if we had an easier schedule and still made it as far as we did, we've had a harder schedule and faced tougher opponents, and we're still doing pretty well. So I think it's just that adversity. I think that's just the level that we got to play at, and they're great opponents. So
I'm not doubting the Eagles anymore. Let's talk about the best rookie quarterback that the nation's ever seen before, and CJ Stroud, Houston Texan quarterback. My oh my. He broke the single game rookie passing yards record, which was held by Andrew Luck.
Wow.
Captain Luck. 2012. He set the record 433 passing yards, which seems like an unreachable feat.
It's mad in numbers.
Not only does Stroud beat it, but he shatters it, throwing for 470 yards passing, and to top it off, if that wasn't enough for you, he throws 5 touchdown passes, including the game-winning touchdown to beat the Bucs 37-39. I mean, this guy is unreal. It's unfortunate that Bryce Young is in the same draft class as CJ Stroud, because you can't help but just compare the two, because they were drafted right in front of each other. And unfortunately, Bryce Young just doesn't have the weapons that Stroud has. But my goodness, Stroud has elite elite throwing talent. He was efficient today. There's nothing bad you could say about CJ Stroud. You could say some bad things about the team as a whole because they let up 37 points to the Bucs at home. But as far as CJ Stroud, John, how impressed are you with we're talking about a rookie. Like, I just can't believe that. This guy's beaten the Steelers' defense, just picked him apart. He's doing things that veterans aren't even doing. I don't even think Baker Mayfield or any of those people could do what he's done.
Yeah, nobody's really respected him so far, and the Bucs' pass defense is pretty bad, as we saw. I mean, Stroud, I give him credit as well, but he does have good weapons, like you said. Noah Brown, 150 yards, Dalton Schultz, 130 yards, and then Tank Dell, 2 touchdowns. Even Nico Collins on the outside, we've seen him have good games. He had a touchdown. So he spreads the ball around, uses his weapons, and they didn't really have a run game because Dameon Pierce wasn't there. Doesn't matter, Stroud puts the team on his back, and it kind of reminds me of Deshaun Watson. I mean, for the Texans, this was, they thought they had a franchise quarterback in Deshaun Watson, and he, things happen and whatever, they get rid of him. Yeah. But then now CJ Stroud is there. It kind of reminds me of when Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks were there and DeAndre Hopkins, and they were just, lighting it up. It seemed like every game they were scoring 20, 30 points. They went to the playoffs, had that big lead on the Chiefs. So it kind of reminds me of the Deshaun Watson era, and I'm excited for this team. I don't know if they'll be able to make the playoffs this season, but yeah, the Texans have a good future with Stroud at quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. That was an impressive game by Stroud, and he has played decently throughout the season, but I think this game sort of reaffirmed everyone's thinking that, hey, this guy is probably the best rookie quarterback. And there's rumors that the Panthers could have got Stroud, but the owner, David Tepper, he wanted Bryce Young, so like they ended up not getting him. But I think
Frank Reich wanted Stroud, I think.
Yeah,
was the rumor.
Yeah, it was a rumor. So yeah, I mean, I think CJ Stroud's showing that, hey, he's the most he's been like the most ready for the NFL from the first season. And so yeah, I even saw Bryce Young play today, and yeah, he seems like he's still trying to learn the offense, and he doesn't seem comfortable, right? And so CJ Stroud looked like he was a veteran quarterback, just relaxed and poised, and getting his team back to victory against the Bucs. And so yeah, I think this guy's good, and I'm excited to see him throughout the next few weeks.
But I've brought this up before. I mean, I think people have talked about Stroud, very optimistically, and it's interesting you bring up. I mean, hopefully he's not Deshaun Watson for many reasons, like you said. But when you bring back like that era where it was like, oh, like Texans, because the Texans were terrible for so many years. Like, how many Maddens would you never want to play as them? Decades. And then finally there's like rumors about a good quarterback. You hope that aspect. I hope Stroud is not Deshaun Watson and surpasses him. But I brought this up before, but isn't this kind of expected about what these number 1 and 2 draft picks were going to be? That Stroud was more developed. You guys watch more college football than me, but like, should we be surprised as an NFL watcher, and should we expect Young to improve, or is this more surprising how good he actually is doing? Because that was the talk, I think, for hearing from a lot of college, they're saying that Stroud was more ready for the NFL now, but Young had the higher ceiling. So it's like, are we surprised, or is this? I mean, I'm not saying it's not impressive, but I'm curious what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I'm surprised because again, Ohio State quarterbacks sort of struggle in the NFL for whatever reason. So I thought he was going to be one of those Ohio State quarterbacks that was going to suck, but it turns out he can actually play. And so yeah, Bryce Young has surprised me. I thought he was a little bit more developed than where he's at now. From his college days, I know he's at Alabama with all the top stars, but yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Okay.
His struggle has kind of surprised me. But again, he's a rookie, so maybe he'll get better. But yeah, these two, I didn't expect it to be like this, where CJ Stroud's obviously the top rookie quarterback, and then Bryce Young is struggling with other rookie quarterbacks as well.
Yeah, I think what is the most shocking, I think you're right, Caleb. If you compared CJ Stroud and Bryce Young at the moment of the draft, they would say, yeah, CJ Stroud is pro ready right now, throw him in. But you would say Bryce Young has the higher ceiling, which is why you draft him first overall over Stroud. Because Stroud didn't have that mobility that Young had. And overall, I think CJ Stroud, people thought, okay, he's going to start, but he's not going to break records. He's not going to pass for 5 touchdowns and 470 yards. Like, people didn't think he was going to do that. Now, he did that at Ohio State, but so did everybody before him. Justin Fields, JT Barrett, Cardale Jones, Dwayne Haskins, they all did that. So when you look at the Ohio State stats and say, oh, Stroud's been doing this since college, we should have known. Everybody does that in the Ohio State offense. So when you see Stroud put up these numbers in the NFL, that's where you're like, okay, we have something different here.
Interesting.
But I did not think the ceiling for Stroud, I mean, we still haven't seen the ceiling because we have yet to see this convert into, like, you know, I think the next ceiling would be playoffs and playoff wins and making whatever. But as far as just talent, I mean, that's why I say it's unfortunate that Bryce Young is in the same draft class, because he's got so much longer to go. His team is bad. His line sucks. Bryce Young's team is just not fit to win, doesn't have the talent. CJ Stroud had Nico Collins, who has been in the system for however long, or been with the Texans for 3 years. Tank Dell's the rookie, so you can pair him well with connecting him with a rookie and a rookie. Robert Woods has been there. Dameon Pierce is a second or third year running back. So you just have that built around him. Bryce Young, you can't even grade him. He's getting sacked 24/7. There's people all up in his face 24/7. He's running for his dang life. It's not fair to judge him off of this.
Yeah.
But to say Stroud, his ceiling is this high, no one knew this. Nobody knew this. It is shocking to me. But I'm glad he didn't do it against Michigan. I'll tell you that. So I have no problems. He was 0-2 against Michigan, so he can do all the passing and touchdowns he wants in the NFL. I can give a crap.
Yeah.
So and CJ Stroud he didn't get drafted by the Chiefs. I mean, they still went to both the teams weren't the best, right? And so I still think you got to give CJ Stroud some credit. He's been able to lift his team just a little bit.
100%. I mean, this team, what did they win? Like 1 or 2 games last year? So, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
This is crazy. But the Panthers line is probably the worst in the league, and maybe next to the Giants.
That was my next question: is which team is worse? Because Nico Collins is balling.
He does
out.
have Thielen,
I would say Thielen's probably higher theoretically. But then it's like, is Stroud elevating the receivers around him? Or they sneaky? I mean, we talked about the Texans having a sneaky good team, and maybe you're seeing some of the fruit of that this year. But no, I appreciate that perspective. Though. It's interesting coming from, because every college, every draft pick is like, oh, he looks like X NFL player, looks like this, and I'm like, he does when he's in college setting. So I think that's a great. You got to start somewhere when you're comparing these guys to draft them. But then when they get to the NFL, what happens? And it's like, I don't know, because I was thinking I don't think Stroud's on this trajectory, but just thinking to like Mac Jones' first year was historic, but now he's not doing as well. But then you think of so many other quarterbacks where their first year was like, it just felt like a lot of people weren't really watching. It wasn't part of the national narrative. I think of like Josh Allen's first year was like meh. Trevor Lawrence's was more drama, but it was like meh. Like there were some stats that you could point out. I was like, oh, this is the makings of a franchise quarterback. But a lot of those guys, if they're not on the bench, that first year is formative. So I'm not saying he's peaking early. I don't think that at all. But it's like, it's interesting how these quarterbacks ebb and flow in that sense.
And even his we got to remember that his preseason, his first drive in the NFL, was a pick six. Like, first drive in the NFL, pick six. So who would have thought he went from that to now breaking records in the regular season? It's amazing.
Good for him.
I want to go to another generational talent, something that we've never seen before. I really want to buy his jersey, but I'm waiting until next season when he goes to another team.
Who?
Joshua Dobbs. Dobbs.
Oh yeah. How could I forget?
I can't say enough good things about this guy. I was raving about him to John all day. I mean, I think to explain, Joshua Dobbs and the Minnesota Vikings pull off a win against the Falcons 31-28. Joshua Dobbs had 158 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Now, I'll explain this quick. whoever the quarterback was before the Jaron Hall.
Yep.
Who cares at this point?
Dude,
He
went
goes
with
down.
history. All right, no,
He
no,
go
no,
down-
Non-existent.
No, stop. He-
I hope that he
human being.
recovers. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hope that
okay,
he
thank you.
recovers.
Thank you.
But
Just
you
say
lost your
that.
job, buddy. You lost it. It's over because Joshua Dobbs comes in. And let me tell you, let me paint the freaking picture for everybody. Everybody knows he got picked Tuesday, trade deadline. Vikings swoop him away from the Cardinals. They get him, throw a 7th or 6th round pick at him and say, we'll take Dobbs off your hands, right? So from Tuesday to Sunday, Dobbs did not take a snap, did not throw a pass to a Minnesota Vikings receiver all week. Nothing. Diddly squat. All
Probably
he
didn't
did
know their names.
didn't know their
Yeah.
didn't know their names.
Didn't know the offensive lineman at all.
Nothing.
Like, what's up, man?
Nothing, bro. It's like first day of school. You walk into class and you're looking around. You don't know a single person. Not one
It's like going
person.
it's like going into school on the first day and you don't know anybody and you have to like
You get
ace
group
an exam
assignments,
and you're like,
you-
I don't even know what the curriculum is.
group work.
Exactly.
Every interaction with O'Connell, which is the head coach, in the back of my mind, I'm like thinking the class settings, like, oh, it's professor or coach. Thanks, coach. Like you forget his last name or Kevin. Like every time they were hugging, I was
Yeah.
like, in both their minds, like, what's this guy's name again? I can't remember. But that's impressive. You guys talk about it.
Dude.
Keep going, Jared. Keep going.
So not only that. Oh my God. But so he comes in. Yeah, I think it was the first quarter. He comes in, rough stretch, gets a safety and all that.
Safety, yeah.
You know, it's a rough stretch, but give Dobbs 2 minutes. Give him 2 minutes, and he's like, I memorized everything. I got you. I put the team on my back.
Like Bradley Cooper, Limitless.
On my
Like, oh,
back. Let's freaking go. Joshua Dobbs running for a touchdown. Minnesota. Oh my gosh. It's like the Minnesota Miracle all over again. Joshua
I was thinking
Dobbs.
about that too. I was like, what's up with Minnesota getting these quarterbacks that just have these that come?
By the grace of God.
It's-
I mean, and the Atlanta fans, if there were
Yeah.
any in the arena, I think it was all Minnesota.
Oh boy,
They were all just witnessing history. They
Stunned.
could give a crap about Taylor Heineke. The team's screwed.
you need a
Bijan
villain
had
to
like
every
2
hero
points.
story, and Taylor Heineke's the villain.
He's the villain. He's the bad man. Joshua
Yeah.
Dobbs beat the bad man, and everyone's happy. So he comes in and he wins the game for him. Whatever. They go into the press conference and they go, "Oh, like, how did this whole thing come about? How did you even call plays? Like, what was going on?" And he's like, "Yeah, so, yeah, basically, the night before." They gave me the play call sheet and all the run-throughs for Sunday, and they said, "What's your comfortability level of all these plays? What could you run? What are you comfortable with?" And he looked at the sheet, and he's like, "Coach, I'm comfortable with everything. Call whatever you want. I'll make it happen. I'm comfortable with everything on this play, from the red zone, from the 2-minute drill, from whatever you want, end of game drill, game-winning drive drill. I got you." And look what he does. He does it. And let me say this. Generational talent. We are witnessing history. Smartest motherfucker ever in the NFL. The smartest. You cannot tell me any different. It's Tom Brady and it's Joshua Dobbs in my head. He is so smart. The guy did a NASA internship while he was with the Tennessee Titans. While he was playing football, he did an internship at NASA. The guy is incredible. I'd love to shake his hand, and if he came on this podcast, I might cry. But I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy his jersey once he's off Minnesota, because I don't want to buy the jersey and then he gets off the team. So once he gets to a team, and let me tell you, he's going to go to a team and he's going to stay there for a full year, because gosh darn it, if you give Joshua Dobbs a full year in an offseason with a playbook, he's going to know it like the back of his hand in a second and probably take you to the Super Bowl. And that's all I got to say, John.
Well, don't you think that with all this, that's going on, maybe he thrives off of this like uncertainty, that he is, always thrown into different scenarios, always doubted and things like that. Maybe if he goes to a team, given a chance, he's paid like a franchise guy, maybe he might crumble. I don't know, but yeah,
Ryan
he's
Fitzpatrick
been
type.
I'd give him the max. I'd give him the max tomorrow.
He
I
has
think
a great
do you think he's
story.
better than Justin Herbert?
I think he's better than Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes combined in together. And you know
had
what? I wish it was if you took Joshua Dobbs' head and put it on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes would never lose another game of his life.
Imagine if you put Josh Dobbs' head on Zach Wilson.
Oh my gosh!
No.
I think
Dude.
that's it. I think
You
Aaron
put
Rodgers
his
needs to
head
find
on.
a different home.
What's going on here?
It's incredible. The guy's incredible. I'm in love.
Bottom line is we need to bring him into the lab and do some analysis. Because who knows what's going on. But yeah, he's having a great year so far, and I'm excited to see it. And it gives us some confidence that Justin Jefferson will come back. So anybody that is playing fantasy football and you have Jefferson and you're waiting on him, you should be happy about Dobbs being at quarterback because the offense looks pretty good. And he didn't have Osborne. Addison didn't have a good game. You can't even tell me who he threw to, but he made it happen. He scored 31 points. So how did that happen? So he always finds a way to get it done, like Jared said. So I'm excited to see the rest of their season. I think they could sneak into the playoffs here.
Yeah, they could. And yeah, I agree with what you guys said. I'm very impressed by his performance. And it's very hard to do what he did, but like, guys, this is the Falcons. Let's not forget that. So yes.
Yeah, they do suck.
Yeah, they do suck. So it was good though, but it's still tough. And yeah, I'm impressed. But I agree with John. You have to question if he was actually given a franchise contract and there was more, responsibility given to him and there was more expectations. Would he perform, pretty
Right.
good? I don't know about that.
That's down the line, though. We don't have to worry about that. This is about the here and now. I'm even on the Cardinals, because clearly the Cardinals. We were joking before we started recording about say it for the audience. Like the Cardinals finally got what they want. They want a tank. They had to get rid of Dobbs because he was winning too much. It's like, oh no, please. No, I'm not gonna. Stop the winning. It's too much.
He was trying too hard to win. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Trying
So
too hard
Cardinals-
to win.
Yeah, clearly have given up or banking on Kyler or whatever you want to put there. But I was watching it, and first the Minnesota Miracle. It is against the Falcons. I did pick them largely because I didn't expect him to suit up. Which shout out to whichever genius was just like, you're probably not going to play, but just have it on and just get a feel for the
Caleb,
team.
you were right. You were like, I want a game to watch that's going to be exciting, and by golly, it was the most exciting one of the day.
I was like, I think going, yeah, exactly. I was happy. There was a couple today. My heart was racing, especially because I had a Red Bull. But no, but that was it was a great game. Part of why I picked the Vikings was like, I just think, what are like Jonathan, you mentioned, what are the Falcons doing? Like, why aren't you playing Bijan enough?
Why aren't we playing Desmond Ridder at home? The guy's undefeated at home. Why are we playing Taylor Heineke here?
You bench Ridder because he's turning it over, and then Heineke turns over. But it's still a great day for the Vikings, for Dobbs. Because honestly, it's crazy. From what I understand, it's like having an interpreter where it's like you don't speak the language, but someone's telling you in your ear as you're like trying to talk. That he was relaying the plays, and McConnell, up until like the mic cuts out at a certain point, he was like saying, all right, this is the read, all in that moment. So he's actually physically looking at it, and then also like, okay, this is what the play is gonna be. It's like in Madden, I think. Going back to Madden, it always comes back to Madden. If you call the play and you're not looking at the screen, it's like, oh, what's the play, and you're kind of have to guess in the moment. I think that's what he was doing for a lot of the game, which explains some of the sloppiness.
It's like you're playing multiplayer on the same couch, so you can't show your play, but you picked the play. So you're like, oh, I think I remember this guy ran like
Exactly.
the drag, and I think he ran this. But most of the time, Dobbs just dropped back, and he's like, fuck it, I'm going to run to the right.
Well,
and the Falcons,
honestly,
he couldn't figure it
that
out.
one
Most of the
fourth
time he
down
did.
conversion was huge. I forgot that he could run, and I was like, because I'm so used to. I mean, Kirk. I do think they're gonna miss Kirk because he's playing the season.
Oh,
of his
Kirk's
life.
done.
They're gonna miss Kirk, and
I don't think he's coming back.
I don't think so either. Yeah,
no,
he's
but I'm
gone.
saying like as good as Dobbs is gonna be, I think they'll still realize like, oh, this Kirk, for all the trash and hate he gets, even when we were talking about trading him, like they're gonna miss him. I think even with Dobbs, but I think I was joking about it, texting you guys, but the Vikings might actually have a run game now, which opens up so much of the offense if it's just Dobbs himself. Because that 4th, it was like 4th and 9 or something, and he ran and got the first. I mean, the grit, because I mean the Falcons, despite all their troubles and the villain at the helm, it was a fourth quarter comeback. They didn't have a lot of times, and Dobbs was able to do it with the Vikings. So it's like they still have a good fundamental team. It was one of those heartwarming stories because you see a guy who got passed the buck a lot, going from team to team, and the grit. As much as I hate Heineke, there's the story of him getting in the NFL that's notable as well. I got to say it. But I think it was a great day for Dobbs. Great, and it's hope for the Vikings. Because going back, watching this whole game and how fun it was to watch, I was just like thankful to one of my original. It's not about me being right or wrong, but just the take of I want to see good football. And any of the conversation originally that was like, let's get a Colt McCoy, let's get someone that is going to be serviceable. Like at least get a guy like Dobbs. That's going to be exciting. And I think the Vikings have a potentially, health and things going their way, a very exciting couple weeks. And I'm not saying it's all going to be victories, but at least your ceiling, you got a chance to taste a little bit of what it could be like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we got to say this is a team effort. I mean, the coaches spent extra time with Dobbs reviewing all the plays.
Defense showed up at the end.
Defense shows up. Head coach, GM, a team effort. Way to save the season. Honestly, way to save the Minnesota Vikings season. Because they were on the road to below 500. And when Kirk got injured, it was like, oh, it's really bad. But they saved the season. Last thing, couple notes, maybe one or two sentences. Dolphins versus Chiefs. Dolphins lose to the Chiefs in Frankfurt, Germany. Guten Tag. John, any thoughts? Dolphins lose another test. They fail the test. They just can't beat good teams. Why is that?
Yeah, they just can't beat any good team. I mean, part of it's their injuries. Part of it's their defense not stepping up. I didn't hear Jalen Ramsey's name at all. I mean, Bradley Chubb, we really haven't heard his name. I mean, they need players on the defense to step up, and they need more consistent contributors on offense. I mean, Jalen Waddle plays every other play because he's hurt. And then Tyreek, he can only do so much. Tyreek's having a record-breaking season, yet they lose to the Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles. So how can they lose all these games, and Tyreek's having the best season of his career? Well, where's the tight end? Where's everybody else? Waddle had a couple good games. Mostert's doing well, but they need more contributors. They need more consistent on offense. Their offense is too much big play or no play. And it seems like half the time it's no play and their defense is on the field a lot of the time. So you can't just be reliant on these 40-yard plays to Tyreek or, these 50-yard runs by Mostert. It's got to be a little bit more consistent, maybe a little bit more methodical, a little more game manager. But yeah, they're struggling.
Yeah. I think a lot of the games, they made a lot of mistakes. But I think some of it could be a little bit of a coincidence. For example, like Tyreek Hill, I think you could argue he probably cost him the game with that fumble that he had and them taking it back to the house, right? Because the Chiefs' offense only scored 14, just like the Dolphins' offense scored 14. So that fumble kind of cost them the game.
Yeah, but you don't see anybody on the Dolphins' defense making a play like the Chiefs' defense did. Like at some point, the Chiefs' defense makes a play. Like at some point, your defense is gonna have to do something.
Did they force a fumble? Didn't they force a fumble on Mahomes?
Were you guys awake early enough to watch it? I'm just curious. It was daylight savings for us, but it was I think a 9:30 Eastern.
9:30.
So daylight savings would have been 10:30 by biological. But no shame. I know there's a lot of football games, but
yeah, it would have been helpful if the defense made a play. You're right. So yeah, maybe the defense, they do have to step up a little bit, but I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. If they got blown out by all these teams, then that'll be an issue. But I mean, I don't think it was that big. They had an opportunity at the end. They had an opportunity at the end.
First in the division.
Yeah, they had an opportunity at the end too, just like fumbled and stuff. Like so they're still in first. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. They still have a good team, and I think they still have a chance in the postseason, assuming that they make it. But it's looking like they will. So.
No, I like. Sorry, were you gonna say something, Jared?
No.
Well, I think everything I've seen about Mike McDaniels this season has been so much fun. I think it's one of the funnest guys to watch in the NFL, and he's a coach, which is great. You love to see it, that personality.
Mike him up every game.
Yeah, he brings up, and even little kids are dressing up as him for Halloween, which is great. It's just such humor. I get his humor, so I like him a lot. I think he could be a contender for something, for what he's done with the Dolphins and Tua bringing out the best in them, honestly. Fundamentally, though, I do think it's a little concerning with not having as great a record against teams with greater records, mainly because we mentioned some of the defense problems. We know they were hurt in the draft because of their previous, whatevers they got punished by the NFL, so they don't have a lot of draft. They don't have a lot of working draft capital this season. And then it reminds me a little bit of how the Raiders were with Devontae that first year. Like, it's not uncommon for teams to kind of win games or have a star receiver that does exceptional, great stats individually, but often it's not the individual receiver that brings the overall wins. It's a complementary. I think, I just think to guys like the Chiefs or the Patriots, where it's the quarterback tight end that's more important in some aspects. Now, I think the Chiefs do suffer without Tyreek there anymore, but it feels like a lot of these. And I'm not saying tight end's more than receiver. It's all context. It all depends. What I'm saying is, like, it's not unheard of to see a team not do well against some teams, do really well against other teams, but have a guy do exceptional stats and it not really reflect, So it's like, yeah, that fumble might have hurt, but it's like, how much are they depending on him individually to, how is that sustainable? So it goes into what's your defense like? What's your run game like? Kind of talk about the consistency. So I think those are some problems that, with health and injuries might, people recovering can help. But yeah, I just hope the Raiders don't end. I mean, the Dolphins will end up like the Raiders of that last year, where Devontae had a great year, but they weren't winning a lot.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And A-Chain's not there yet.
Yeah.
So
that's hurting them too.
I would love to see them with A-Chain. I think what I took away from this game, before Jonathan, you kind of wrap it up, Chiefs defense, man. I told this to John, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. I think the Chiefs defense right now is better than the Chiefs offense right now. I think the offense they got 14 points real quick and then just flatline the rest of the game. And then they got that picks, fumble recovery, whatever, for 6. So 14 points in the first quarter and then 0 the rest of the game. That's not okay. I mean, but we think back to years prior, Chiefs defense was terrible and they probably would have lost this game. But now I think, I'll say before, I'll say it again, Chiefs defense top 5 in the league now. And I think the Chiefs defense is now better than the Chiefs offense at this point in time. Chiefs offense obviously can get better, but at this point in time, this defense is rocking and rolling, and it needs to be noticed. People need to shed more light on it. Jonathan?
Yeah, and I agree with that, Jared. And even during the Patriots reign with Tom Brady, you saw that like a lot of years, Tom Brady led them to Super Bowl, and they had a great offense, but other years their offense wasn't that great, but the defense was, was spectacular.
He
the
always
offense just had to do
10.
enough, right? And so I think now you're seeing it this year with the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs defense owes Patrick Mahomes this. They owe him this year. Like, after all he's done for them, they better be playing well this year. And
I gave you 2 rings, so you give me a
help
ring.
me out. Yeah, I'm struggling this year. Help me out. Let me
look
just
at
do
what the
basic
Patriots did for years.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's going on. But I was gonna change the subject quickly and just say that.
Okay.
I mean, I truly believe the Bengals are the Bills' kryptonite. I'm just looking at the game. I'm like, have they ever? I'm thinking, has the Bengals defense or has the Bills defense ever been able to really stop the Bengals offense?
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah,
when they're chugging, at
easy.
least.
Joe Burrow's just having fun out there.
I don't know why it's so easy.
The Bengals won't win this game.
Yeah, they're going to easily
think
win.
so?
They're 0-9 in Sunday night primetime games.
Really?
In history.
And they never played the Bills, though.
Exactly.
I think they have.
Interesting.
All right, well, I'm going to look stupid if the Bills win because this is going to be posted after. But let's wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you haven't already, go over to our TikTok and our Instagram at Dorm Debate Podcast and also follow over on there. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps us out a ton. Thank you guys again so much for watching and listening. We will see you guys, as always, next week.